Okay, so I've been asked to do a YouTube video on what I found out about the free man movement. Right, basically, the best place to start with is you are not who you think you are when you're dealing with the state, okay? So if you imagine, I wish I had my birth certificate with me now, but I don't. Basically, the day you're born, and your parents register you with a birth certificate. Now, what that actually means, I'm sure your parents don't know this at the time, but what they're actually doing is registering ownership of you to the state. So you become a ward of the state. So that what that then means is that the state can take you off your parents. They can pretty much do what they want. You are then collateral against the debt that they owe to the bankers. So if you imagine that you, this legal fiction, that has the same name as you, okay, has the same birthday as you, lives at the same address as you, but is not you, okay, this person would be addressed with a title, which is either Miss, Mr, all that kind of stuff. That is your title of your legal fiction, and that is how you identify with this person, okay. It's called a person. A human person, a natural person, is not a fictional person, okay? And I know it gets complicated because you do have to differentiate between the legal person, the artificial person, and the natural person, the human being. So what I claim as a free woman of the land is that in order for the government's acts and statutes to apply to me as law, they need my consent. The authority of our government comes from our consent. They are supposed to be representing us, upholding our rights, and blah blah blah. What we found though is that the authority and the governance of the government has outgrown that of the consent of the governed. So they've got a bit too big for their boots, basically. There's enough of us now, hopefully, to kind of bring them down a few pegs, and I'm going to help you. I'm going to show you how to do this, okay? So one of the main common law rights that we have as human beings, as creations of our creator, is the right to travel. Okay, so if technology has advanced in society to the point where we have mechanically propelled automobiles, we call them automobiles. I'll get into the language technicality of things in a minute, because this is how they trap you into contracts with language. So we've got legalese, which is literally like another language with manipulating the English language, basically. So where shall I start? Okay then. So if I start with my notice of deregistration, which is what I'm going to be sending to the DVLA, along with my notice and understanding of intent and claim of right. Now this document's really important, because what this is doing is, when I have this notarized next week, and I give it to a judge, and I have to give it to all 6 heads of state as well, basically what this is doing is drafting out and showing to them that I understand that the only jurisdiction that I'm liable to is common law, and that any act or statute can only take the force of law with my consent. Now what this is doing is saying, you don't have my consent to govern me. I'm a human being, I'm a natural person, I'm not a corporation, and I have God-given rights, and we all do, and I'm going to stand up for them, and I'm going to take them, because as far as I'm concerned, my rights are not gifts of governments. I was born with them, and they can't take them away. So I've got that one. So that one's getting sent. The other thing is to send all of this recorded delivery, okay? Because then if you do ever get pulled up in court or whatever, you can say to the judge, well, I sent these letters, I got no response. Keep the notice of no response as well, because that you'll need that. That'll be really important. But yeah, basically, so imagine now then, I've sent all this off, rescinded my contracts with the DVLA, which is obviously the corporate state corporation for the UK. When it comes to driving, obviously it will be different in different countries. But once they've got all of my paperwork, all of my legal documentation, they won't reply. I know they won't reply. I've seen other videos of people doing this. They never really get a response, but obviously I'll give them 10 days or 28 days, whatever, and if they don't respond, then it's it's acquitted because of the no response. So what I then have to do is send all of this to the 6 heads of state. That makes this then a lawful legal document. This is my law then. This document is basically my law. So if I were to be travelling along, so now I'll get into the language of things, okay, because if I were to be pulled over by a police officer and he was to say to me that I am driving a vehicle, and I was to agree that I was driving a vehicle, then I would be representing this person, because that's what a corporation is doing. By definition, driving implies for commerce, and a vehicle implies for commerce as well, which is obviously for money. So if I'm just travelling, which is a very different definition, this is my right, I have the right to travel in an automobile, okay, is another key word, because that doesn't imply for commerce, that's a privately owned, mechanically propelled, I'm not going to say vehicle because that's not the right word, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so we have to be careful with the language. This is how they trap us verbally into contracts as well. So say for example, he asks me for all these documents that I don't have. He says, can I have your license, registration, and blah blah blah, and I say no you can't, because I don't have them. I don't want them, I don't need them to exercise my common law rights. So he's going to be all like, oh, I don't know what to do about this, which is cool, because I'll just hand in all my documents and he can call someone higher and see what they're doing. If by the way they decide to arrest me and take me down to the police station and question me further, I have in my claim of right a fee schedule. So not only would they be liable to be sued for kidnapping me, probably stealing my property, my private property, which would be my car, they would be liable then for me to sue them in a court of law. So what we then have is they're going to read my rights to me, okay? Now this is very important, because when your rights are being read to you, this is a contract, okay? So at the end of your rights, when the policeman says to you, do you understand? He is not asking you if you comprehend what he's just said. He is asking you if you stand under his authority. So if you answer, yes, I understand, you have just entered into a verbal contract with the state, okay, with the state representative, this police officer, to represent your legal fiction, and you will then be liable for any charges. If you answer from the very beginning that you do not consent, you do not stand under, is what you should say, I do not stand under, then hopefully, because most police officers don't really know the law, it's actively discouraged for them to know it. They have to wait till they get a bit higher up. So you'll get back and then like the superintendent, whatever they are, he'll know, okay, and he'll be like, okay, then as long as she's got the legal documentation, she's got the seal of approval, it's been notified, then I'm acting lawfully. Although I might not be going along with their little games, I'm not breaking any common law, so I'm not liable. So once I get out of the police station, I can sue them for my damages, which is pretty damn cool. So I haven't actually sent it off yet. I'm going to be sending it off within the next few days, recorded delivery. I mean, it's about time, I think, that people were made aware of the rights that we have got. A lot of the time our governments are making us believe that our rights are privileges, and they're not, they're rights. Because the thing with privileges, they can be taken away. And the only way that they can get away with this is by manipulating consent out of us. A lot of people are under the impression that you have to register your car to the DVLA. You have to give up ownership of your own property that you have worked for and paid for. You have to give it up. No, you don't. That is bullshit. That is not true. That's a complete lie. And at any point you can stand up and take ownership back of your property. You can take responsibility for your own life, for your own decisions, for your own choices, and you are well within your rights to do that. So if you have any questions or you want any more information, post it below. I mean, I would put drafts up on here, but I'll probably do that in another video. I'm going to see what response I get, if any, from these corporations. Because that is a very important thing. At no point during your interactions with these representatives of the state, these agents of the state, can you agree to be a person, an agent, a corporation, or any of these titles. You have to really stick with, I'm a person. No, I'm sorry, I'm not a person. I'm a human. I'm a natural person. Because otherwise, any slip up, and they really will go in hard on you. So I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I know I can do this. So I'll upload another video soon and tell you how it goes.